Ah,
It's working.
oh my God! I think we're actually live.
Yeah.
The video froze on my end. The countdown.
Weird.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay.
Which going down?
Like, why is it freezing?
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we are actually live on YouTube for once. Um, I don't know what to do now.
I know.
Welcome everyone. Kiss
You
Me
just
Podcast.
expected it to go wrong, and then it
Right. It's like when
went
you
right.
plan on it being horrible and then it works, you just like you don't know what to do. You feel like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
It's like I
How
don't
do we
know
do
what
this?
to do right now. Harry, what's up? So welcome everyone to Kiss Meets the Podcast 4K, the Crazy Crazy Kiss Countdown. You wanted the best. I'm one of your hosts, the Del Taco Crat.
Jeez, I wasn't expecting it. Yes, and I firmly support the Burger King.
And I'm just here.
Savannah is here.
I didn't.
Everyone.
That kind of like
Yes.
hit me out of the blue, so like I'm not sure how to respond.
The Del Taco Crat. Yes.
Nobody asked what where the baby is, what happened to it. That's a subject we're not going to discuss. But
Go on.
he made the wrong choice about this album, and so we chose to,
I
treat
hate
it
him.
properly.
No, you know what? He was sitting in here while I listened to it, and he actually started crying on Dance All Over Your Face. So I was like, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He waited to the
Jesus.
right moment for that.
Well, I hope everyone's been doing good since it's been a pretty non-eventful week this week in the world. So nothing going on whatsoever.
Nah, not a thing.
No.
All right. So again, we are out of the makeup era and we are now into Lick It Up. Obviously the first non-makeup era album. So let's not waste any time. We'll get caught up. I know we got some more votes in for the Creatures episode even. So we've got those to get added in and everything else. So let's just get it rolling.
Absolutely. All right. Let's jump into some comments. Only a few comments this time, which is okay since last week's episode was live on Facebook. We got a ton of comments on that while we were live. So the YouTube upload did get a few. And yes, Harry, I did see that you sent your rankings. I do have those in. They are in and counted.
And yes, I did get the episode up onto the YouTube channel, so I do apologize for the delay. But if anyone still hasn't seen that episode, it is up there now for you to check out.
Absolutely. Definitely get on that. It was weird. Anybody who's watched this show for a long time knows that we are, for some reason, prone to technical malfunction.
Yeah. And then here we are this week. We did literally nothing different, but all of a sudden we're live on YouTube again.
Yeah. It was
And
like
last week it decided to just not put us live on YouTube.
yeah. And not tell us either until we happened to look. I happened to go to YouTube app on my phone to look at our subscriber count. That's the only reason we knew it wasn't working. We were halfway into the show, or half an hour into the show.
Yeah. Thank God you had taken a look, because oh my God.
Yeah. Jesus. Oh, ridiculous. So a few comments on last week's episode. Our first is from our new good friend Ronnie Parker. And Ronnie says, I most definitely agree with your guys' views on Creatures. Yeah, there was an extra L there, so I wasn't sure. Most definitely agree with your guys' views on Creatures. It's my favorite Kiss album to the end of the Kiss studio catalog to 2012. Nothing has come close to that album since. Lick It Up is not far behind for me. Did Vinny help save Kiss? I think so. Keep rocking, guys. Space Ace Ron.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Let's see. We also got a comment from Robbie Stars. Robbie says, my true confession, Creatures is a bit overrated. The drums are monsters, but some of the songs are meh to me. Everybody that loves the album, awesome, but this is my opinion on the album, and that's my true confession.
Well, Robbie, we appreciate you watching all these years, and we're going to be sad to see you go. So.
Yes. If we ousted everybody that said Creatures is overrated, or the army that for some reason raised in the comments last week saying Revenge is overrated, I don't think we'd have too many more viewers.
We're just going to become like a total like dictatorship on this show, and
Yeah.
you don't believe in what we believe, you're out of here.
You're out. Go away.
Good.
Yes. The Burger King commands. We also got a couple of comments from Carolina Hard Rock Metalhead, good buddy Scott. He says, I'm used to the album cover with Ace, just like I'm used to the album cover of Unmasked, but I think Vinnie Vincent should have been on Creatures of the Night, and I think they should have released Unmasked at a later date with Eric Carr with the Fox makeup. It's kind of hard to believe they didn't think of that for money and marketing.
That is true.
That would have been neat to see the Unmasked album cover with Eric on it. Absolutely.
Wasn't there a lot of debate anyway that Vinny did play some stuff on Creatures?
Yeah, he definitely played some stuff on there, but as far as I'm aware, it was only guitar solos on a few of the songs.
Okay.
It wasn't like he was the official guitarist at that point.
Right.
Right. But yeah, it would have been neat. I mean, he was definitely, they knew he was going to tour with them by the time they had finished the album. I mean, maybe they had already done the photo shoot or something, but would have been neat to see an official. Also, Scott gave us his rankings for Creatures. He gave the album a 9 out of 10, and his top 3 were Creatures of the Night, War Machine, and Killer.
Nice.
Yes. I want to point out real quick to everybody who usually gives us rankings in the comments. Absolutely, thank you. Keep doing that. We can only really count the votes if you give us the whole album.
Well,
If you want to give us the top 3 or the top 4 or the top 5, whatever you want, you know what we do. We read them. The only way we can keep the actual count fair, though, is if the whole thing is in there. So if you want your votes on our actual thing, then go ahead and give us the whole songs and everything. It's kind of like golf, how the scores work. So if we only put in the top 3, then it actually hurts those songs instead of helping them.
Yeah. Hopefully we're not as boring as golf, but
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But as per usual, this is 100% just for fun. This isn't anything official. If you don't want to give it your entire rankings, it's totally fine. I'm not saying don't do that. Thank you to anybody who contributes or comments at all.
you'll give the rankings or you'll get out.
Yeah. Everybody who doesn't agree with us or won't give us the full rankings, just get out. This is becoming a very aggressive
Take my
episode.
belt off here.
Yeah. And that was, and Harry's got a point there, I think, because if there's 2 really important things, it's the government and Kiss Meets the Podcast. And I'm glad that Antifa took the time to sabotage our live feed so that we couldn't spread the Kiss message to the masses.
Yeah, I mean, those were totally all of our listeners that sabotaged the Capitol the other day. We appreciate you guys sticking up for us.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. It's too bad we didn't start a Nice Earth podcast.
We had the
I think
opportunity.
they were probably playing Dance All Over Your Face at like a very loud volume as they were storming.
It's no wonder they did what they did then, because probably everybody in DC was super confused.
Yes, David Smith, no echoes for once.
Yay!
Says this is not one of his go-to albums. Look it up. He hated it till he heard it live. Give me more. All Hell's Breaking Loose. Top 3.
Nice.
We do appreciate that, man. If you don't mind, send us the rankings for the rest of the album there.
Absolutely. We'll get them put in.
Because we definitely want to count all your votes. And as Luke was saying, we can't really do that without the full list. So if you don't mind, man, send those over.
Absolutely. Good to see some love for Gimme More.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for the comments. So let's jump over to our polls, which are drawing to a very exciting conclusion very soon. I believe that next week will be the semifinals, and the week after will be the final match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we literally just jumped right to the end. So if any of you are new to watching and you don't know, we are conducting a huge every studio Kiss song tournament, knocking them out tournament style until we get down to the one song that between all of our votes is the ultimate Kiss song. Now, like I just said, we are very close to the end, but you can still get in on the voting, and we already have a new tournament plan for when this one ends. So don't worry, you are not too late. We post these over on Facebook, and when the new tournament starts, we're going to try and get them posted on Twitter as well. I do believe Facebook's got some way that you can connect Instagram too, so that if you post to Facebook, it also posts to Instagram. So we might be able to get across all three platforms there.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea to get an Instagram going too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're new to watching, or if you're new to and watching, that's even better. So.
Yes. Yeah. You can go over to our Facebook. Of course, we've got our Facebook page, Kiss Meets the Podcast. We would super appreciate if you would give that a like. Check it out. We were just posting the polls right there on that page until right around the election time. Facebook shut down polls for some reason. Not sure why, but we can still post polls in groups. So we've got Kiss Meets the Podcast group. You can search that on Facebook. You do have to request access to join, but we approve everybody. So don't hesitate. Get in there. We post the polls in that group, and you can vote, and we want as many votes as possible. So,
yeah, I mean, all we do is a full background check. I mean, come on, big deal, right?
Yeah.
So I like to look at your pictures. So what?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Give me a break here.
Last week, we concluded round 5 with one of our second chance rounds, which is where we take songs that have already been knocked out of the tournament. We take the top rated 6, pit them against each other. You only get to pick one of the 6, and the one that wins gets back into the rankings for the next round. So that's what we did last week. We posted 6 songs, which I didn't pull up because I'm an idiot. I know which one won, but yeah, here we go. Okay, so the 6 that you could vote on last week were 100,000 Years, Strutter, A Million to One, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, Hate, and Who Wants to Be Lonely. Now, for the first time on a second chance round, there wasn't a single song that didn't get at least one vote. So that was really neat to see. Even Hate got a vote.
Wow.
Sam, I think, voted for that, and I think he's voted for Hate every time, every second chance round.
I mean, every one of them songs could potentially be in the top 10, really.
Yes, absolutely. It was close for a while. I was worried because 100,000 Years and A Million to One were neck and neck right up until the last minute. Just in the last couple of days, we got a few more votes for 100,000 Years, so that's what ended up going on to the round 6.
Heck yeah.
Boo.
I think at the time we did last week's episode, wasn't I the only person that voted for it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So came back with a vengeance. Now that was our last second chance round as well. So all the songs that have now lost for sure.
So it is now literally down to the nitty gritty.
Yes, very nitty gritty. So what you can vote on right now, if you head over to our Facebook page, wait till the episode's over, and then go over to the Facebook page. You can vote on the entire round 6. There's only 5 matches in round 6, so all 5 of them are posted right now. The matchups that you can vote on are Unholy versus Creatures of the Night, She versus Deuce, Detroit Rock City versus Come On and Love Me, Love Gun versus Shock Me, and God of Thunder versus 100,000 Years. Very, very tough. Also, super neat to see that the official Ace Frehley Origins Volume 2 Facebook page shared the Love Gun versus Shock Me poll.
Wow.
Which was insane.
Wow.
Said, Rock Soldiers, you know what to do. So we'll see if Shock Me beats it out then.
Nice. Rock soldiers, you know what to do. Do not go and vote on that.
yeah. We want Love Gun. So we're going to do something a little bit different next week. Because there's going to be an odd number of songs and we're done with second chance round. Round 7 is going to be the 5 remaining songs all together in one poll. And the top rated 2 are going to be our final match.
Okay.
So that's how we're going to do it next week. You're going to see 5 songs up against each other head to head, and you only get to pick one. But right now, you got those 5 polls. You can go vote to see which 5 songs get to round 7. So help us out. Go send in a vote. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. So if you didn't believe that your vote doesn't mean anything, next week it really, really means something.
It really does. There is no Kiss Meets the Podcast Electoral College. What you guys vote is really what wins.
You're not going to see me wear a hat with horns on it. And I'm not going to paint my face.
That would be funny.
I'm not going to storm the Capitol.
Storm the Kiss Capitol.
I don't know how to wipe properly.
What?
Sorry, I've been on a Chris Farley binge lately.
Oh, that's good. All right, so some album info then?
Yo. Moving on. I'm gonna step to the little girl's room real quick while you're doing that, so I will be right back.
Do it. All right, guys. So Lick It Up is the 11th studio album by American rock band Kiss. This album was released September 23rd, 1983, one of the many Kiss albums released in September. That seemed to be their favorite month. This was recorded throughout July and August of 1983, and it was recorded at Right Track Studios and also the Record Plant Studios. This was produced by Michael James Jackson. Also listed were Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, just like Creatures, same thing. As probably all of us know, this is the first Kiss album where Kiss appears without their makeup. First time ever, of course, they had appeared on the MTV show prior to this for their official unmasking. If you guys haven't seen that, it's on YouTube. It's on Kissology 2. Super neat interview where they reveal that they're all really ugly without the makeup, too. Also, somewhat interestingly, it doesn't say this on the Wikipedia page, but I've read in the past that they didn't know for sure that this was going to be a no makeup album. They had already recorded the entire thing, planning for it to be just another Kiss album like normal. And from what I read, they had actually taken photos both in and out of makeup, because they, even up to the point of the photo shoot, they still hadn't decided yet whether or not this was it. They were actually going to do it. They were still, in fact, I think Paul and Gene were still arguing at that point as to whether or not they should. And they ended up deciding in the end that one of the no makeup pictures was the best, and so that's kind of what made the decision. I've also been told that in that picture, Vinnie Vincent is wearing a wig and is standing on a stack of books.
Yeah, there's always been that debate, because they also had that saying that it was a mannequin or something.
Right, yeah.
Because like his weird arm, like you can't even see his other arm.
That is really weird. They could have just edited it out.
Makes you wonder why Eric's got that look on his face, because who knows where Vinny's other hand is.
Yeah, scary. Scary. Singles from this album: "Lick It Up," the title track, and "All Hell's Breaking Loose."
Javier, what's up?
Yeah, how's it going? Personnel on this album is thankfully a very short list for the first time in a long time. We've got Paul Stanley, rhythm guitar and lead vocals, Gene Simmons, bass guitar and lead vocals, Vinnie Vincent, lead guitar, backing vocals, and additional vocals on Lick It Up and On the Eighth Day. Eric Carr, drums, percussion, and backing vocals. And then, of course, the famous cameo that most of us know, Rick Derringer, who played the guitar solo on Exciter. I checked out some of the Rick Derringer footage from the Kiss Masquerade thing, by the way, and I need to watch more of it. The clips that I found were just Hang On Sloopy and Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. I was trying to find Exciter. He did, however, tell a pretty funny story about he's been part of the Ringo Starr All-Star Band for the last couple of years. And apparently he's been telling a story before they perform Hang On Sloopy that Hang On Sloopy was number 1 while Yesterday was number 2. And the All-Star Band management got a little irked at him for telling that story and told him, they pulled him aside and told him he needed to go clear it with Ringo before he tells the story on stage again.
Jesus.
So he went to Ringo's dressing room and just, spouted it out to, you've been sitting behind me for the last 2 shows and I've told this story. Hang On Sloopy number 1 while Yesterday was number 2. Is it okay? Can I tell that story? And apparently Ringo just sort of looked at him over his shoulder and went back to what he was doing and said, I didn't play on either one of them. I thought that was pretty good. So Lick It Up did get up to number 24 on the U.S. Billboard charts and has been certified platinum. I think, according to Wikipedia, it didn't get up to platinum until the 90s, though. I lost it. It's somewhere in there. I'm pretty sure it said that it didn't get certified platinum until way later.
Javier, you're right. He said Gene's right hand always looked weird to him.
Yeah, like it's way too big.
Yeah. Where is it?
Yeah.
Because, look where the bend starts. And then, whereas, his hand is huge.
His finger, it's like they used a different bottom half of the picture to the top. Very strange. I like that Gene's got his tongue out on this because for anybody who wasn't sure who was who, I mean, clearly that denotes it's Gene. And, of course, Vinny's wearing his Ankh, but how many people were even familiar with Vinny at that point enough to make that connection?
True. And I like that Gene is still wearing the choker from Creatures as well.
Yeah. Lots of neat little Easter eggs.
And I like Paul's watch. I wonder what time it was at the time.
Yeah. Is it correct? Can anybody tell?
Thanks, David. David sent over the rest of his votes for the album. Or
awesome.
His full votes.
I will get those put in right now.
Wait, I'm confused. Number 9, you put Love It Loud. What would that be? Yeah. Love It Loud and Young.
Wasted.
Exciter. Exciter's not on there.
Is that can you clear that up real quick, David? Did you mean Exciter for number 9? Because the way the rest of your votes look, that's what it would be.
It would be kind of funny if they just did I Love It Loud again on this. It's just here again. Yep, and I've got everything in there except that, so as soon as he clears that up, we'll be able to get it in. It's on. It's cool. There.
Cool. Yeah, I still haven't had a chance to see any of that Rick Derringer footage. I haven't checked lately.
Yeah, I jumped into it right before we started, so I didn't get too much of a chance to look. But it was him and the Talisman, and they did at least those 2 songs.
I wonder if he played Real American.
Oh yeah, that's good. Sweet. All right, we got it in there, David. We're good.
Thank you, man.
Very much.
Is that it then? Are we ready for the album now?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get into it. So starting it off, of course, is Exciter. This one comes in at number 5 for me this time. Just like with Creatures, man, I felt like this is another great way to start the album. Just that in your face intro, like, right then and there, like, okay, we're in for something here. This isn't going to be another a letdown of an album. They're kind of keeping the momentum rolling with what they started with Creatures. And I gotta say, like, right off the bat, I do like the production. Drums sound great. We kind of talked last week. I'm glad that they didn't try to keep the Creature sound all through these albums. I'm glad that there is a difference in the sound, but they do have a nice crisp, clean sound. I love the way the kick drum sounds on the album. But other than that, yeah, just another fantastic opener. It smokes. It kind of, to me, it's always I feel like this can go right up head to head with some of the Judas Priest and stuff like that was big at this same time. It can rival those kind of songs neck to neck. Great starter.
Yep, this is number 2 for me. Yeah, it's an amazing way to open an album. It's a great song. It's got lots of energy. It's got lots of excitement, which is what you look forward to and what you're looking for when you start an album, especially if it's the first time you've ever heard it. If it doesn't have that like catch right at the beginning, it doesn't. I mean, this was the type of song that just makes you look forward to hearing what the rest of the album has in store, what the rest of it has to offer. Because if it doesn't have that energy, if it doesn't have that excitement, it just doesn't. It doesn't have the same feeling, and it doesn't give you the same excitement to look forward to hearing the rest of the album. So this song definitely, I mean, they just like came out the doors with it. You know what I mean? They blew them doors wide open. And it was like, okay, all right, I can't wait to see what the rest of it has in store. So and I think that's why with it being such a high energy song and being so exciting, that's why it's so high on my list, because I remember the first time I ever heard it and I was ready to hear the rest of this album after I heard this song. I was like, all right, here we go. So number 2 for me.
So to sum that up, Exciter is exciting.
Yes, Exciter is exciting. It's got a great title too.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually number 1 for me. This has always been one of my favorite songs. Maybe for me, one of the most underrated songs in the whole discography. There's 2 songs on this album actually that I feel like are right up near the top for me that I don't really hear too many other people say positive things about generally. This, again, like you guys said, perfect way to start this album. The production is absolutely perfect. The drums still have that big reverby punch, but they're not the most prevalent thing in the mix. The guitars and the bass are both right where they should be. The ending is just as exciting as the beginning. This also is the second of 3 albums in a row where Kiss starts the album with an Iron Maiden gallop. Creatures of the Night, Exciter, and I've Had Enough, Into the Fire all have that. All three of these albums start that way for some reason, which is interesting. They clearly touched on something important there.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes, great song overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like when I really think about it, I don't feel like there's a lot of like heavy Paul songs, across the entire discography. But when he does do heavy, he always nails it. Like this and
yep.
Stuff that's coming up on Animalize, and I mean, just knocks it out of the park.
Yep.
All right, so next we go to Not for the Innocent, the typical Paul Gene 1-2 punch here. Gene getting his turn. Number 4 this time. This is the song that's grown on me the most out of this album. Probably back when we did this album the last time, that's kind of when it started becoming one of my favorites. And I feel like this honestly could have probably fit on Creatures just as well. I feel like Gene's singing with that same that attitude and the way he sounds on Creatures. And I like the whole theme of the song, the Not for the Innocent thing. It's like kind of like, hey, here we are, this is the new Kiss, we're not your you know, we're not for, you know, mom and dad to bring the kids to the shows anymore like it was, you know, during the Dynasty era and all that stuff. And, you know, this is what we are now. So pretty much love it or leave it, you know, to say the least. And
love them and leave them.
there you go. Stiff proposition. But yeah, so just a great song, and another one to add to the list of underrated Gene songs, and maybe just underrated Kiss songs, period, to be more fair. But yeah, the just a song that grows on me so much, and I almost go to this song more than any other one when I, you know, want to hear something off this album. You know, even though it's not my number one, but it is just at that moment right now kind of that song that I lean towards the most.
Yeah, this is number 3 for me. It's another one of my top Gene songs. I mean, just in every way, they nail the song. They keep that energy going. They keep that excitement going from the first song. It's just he nails it vocally so well. It's just fantastic the way that he sings this song. And I mean that solo, just I mean, I was thinking about that solo while you were talking, and I got goosebumps just thinking about it. You know, it's so good. So yeah, I mean, for the top, you know, for the two, this being only the second song on the album, and it's still, I mean, it still has that you want to hear more after it's done. You know,
Absolutely.
even to go back and like even restart it and hear it again before you even continue on through the rest of the album. So yeah, no, number 3 for me.
Nice. Yeah, this is number 5 for me. This is to me the demon song for the album. Now, there's lots of songs that I think work with that personality, but this is the one if I had to pick one. And definitely, I think the best of the Gene songs to put near the front of the album. Maybe not the best Gene song on the album, but the best one to put right in this spot. I think that was really good. And yeah, kind of like Eli touched on, thematically, I think the song works so well for the image that they were trying to create, taking the makeup off. It was like the early days. It wasn't supposed to be a family thing. They were dangerous. You know what I mean? And I think they wanted to reestablish that. In this era, they didn't want to be thought of as a circus act. You know, later maybe they changed their minds a little bit. But I think they wanted to remind everybody that this isn't... we're singing about our dicks, guys. Like, this isn't something that just everybody should be in on.
Totally agree. Javier says, being that it was the album where they took off the makeup with the rise of metal at the time, I feel they had to start off with a killer track. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. He says, nifty, not Phoenix, and it's probably their best non-makeup. Yeah, that's a big statement, but I agree. It's definitely got to be in the at least top 10 of the non-makeup stuff. And then he also loves the demo with Gene and Paul trading vocals. Yeah, that almost would have made this song, you know, skyrocket for me if they would have kept that idea with Gene and Paul, because again, adding Paul to the vocals would have kind of helped drive that home of, you know, here we are, this is Kiss now, you know, again, kind of like what we were saying before.
Right.
But still great with what they came out with. So we get to the title track here, Lick It Up. This comes in at number 6 for me this time. Again, I mean, this is another one of them songs that, you know, don't really need to say too much. I mean, it is what it is. It's obviously become a staple and a classic. They still perform it to this day. But I've always liked this studio version as well. It's definitely got a different feel and groove than the way they play it live. And you know, I've always kind of enjoyed that, and the way Eric's playing the drum part on here, and of course the video. Like, you know, the first time seeing that music video, and then you get that first shot of them without the makeup, and, you know, walking down the street or whatever, and it's just kind of like, whoa, like, you know, it's just, to me, it's one of those visions that just always gets ingrained in your head. Like, I could picture the exact scene as I say that. And, yeah, I mean, such a great song. I love the I've always loved the way the vocals sound on the chorus with the "Lick It Up" and just how big it sounds and and, it's unfortunate that it never really came off that way live. Unfortunately, it doesn't just have that big sound to it that it does on the album, and just a classic. I mean, like I say, it is what it is. It speaks for itself.
Yep. Number 4 for me. I love this album because I don't feel like it's really lacking in any way. This is just another song that just goes to prove that Kiss was here to stay, you know. And they did this huge thing where they took off their makeup and they took off their staple, but this was one of the songs that they didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
They could prove that they didn't need it, that their makeup was not who they are, didn't define them. And so it just is another fantastic song. It helps keep that energy going. And I like in the middle that it's kind of like a softer guitar tone that's in the middle, right before that giant epic whoa that they do. And I love that part of the song. It's probably my favorite part of the whole song because it's just like you think that it has all this energy, but then it just builds up more, and so it's just fantastic. I love it.
Definitely. Now this is actually number 9 for me, and I can take it down to one riff, and it's this riff. Ready? If that riff had been on the studio version and not just live, this would have been top of the list for me. I kind of agree with David there. I don't hate this song at all, but I prefer the live versions because it, like Love Gun and like Rock and Roll All Night I complained about, it needs a guitar solo and that little break riff in place of them just hitting the A is so boring. Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. But also, I maintain that somebody else must be here. That the first "Come On" in all of the choruses is Vinny. It doesn't sound to me like Paul, Gene, or Eric. And Vinny is listed as having done additional vocals in the song, whatever that means. But I think it's that. I think the "Come On" is Vinny, and then Paul responds, "Come on," and then the "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I think it's Vinny and Paul back and forth. And then again, I guess the live ending too. I know we endlessly complain about fade outs on this podcast. I really like the way they end this song live. I think it works better than just fading the chorus out.
Right. As weird as it may sound, to me, I don't feel like this song would have fit the makeup, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
I know this they literally just took it off for this album, but it's like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's one of those staple non-makeup songs, along with "Heaven's on Fire," that to me, like, has always been kind of the best representation of them without the makeup. And I think again, a lot of it might have to do with the music video. That might be part of that reason, but to me, it's just always one of them that just has that feel to it. And it just makes me wonder if, had they have kept the makeup on, would this song have even existed? I mean, I know it sounds weird, but I just, for some reason, don't see it. Like looking at a picture of the Creatures era where they just had the makeup on, I just don't see like "Lick It Up" coming from that.
Yeah. Now, I think I said this while you were in the bathroom, but according to things that I've read, they actually didn't officially make the decision to take the makeup off until the photo shoot, which was after the album was completely recorded. So I would think it would still exist even if they hadn't taken the makeup off. But no, I totally agree. It feels weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's
such a staple for them. I think that's one of the things that you can just, when they first came out with the no makeup, this was the song that they did it with. You know what I mean? So it's like, to think of it with makeup is weird, because this was the one that revealed their true faces and stuff. So it's like weird to think about it like being brand new song, but like they still have the makeup on. Like that's just weird to think about now.
Right. Because I always thought it was weird when they performed it with the makeup, like, you know, back on the farewell tour when they started pulling this out along with Heavens on Fire, and I'm like, it just felt weird. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, this and Heavens on Fire, I Love It Loud, and even Forever, the few like no makeup songs that they played with Ace and Peter, just no,
right?
just no.
Let's see, catching up here real quick. Javier says it's funny that like Rock and Roll All Night and I Love It Loud, Heavens on Fire, and Lick It Up is one of their most known songs without a solo. He said he's not too crazy about the song, probably his least favorite on the album, but he does love the chick at the end of the video that is with the skull. She's a hottie.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Victor sounding like Darth Vader, he asked.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. That's backwards, though. I'm his father. Wait a minute.
And then David said he didn't have MTV back then, so he missed the unmasking video until watching Friday Night Videos. Yeah. You know, I don't remember seeing that actual footage of that until, I don't know, it might have been one of the videos that was released where they kind of just, you know, put that little clip in there. I know I definitely didn't see it as it happened. I was still a bit too young. Yeah, it had to have just been on one of those like compilation tapes or something along the way that I suddenly caught a glimpse of it and, you know, realized what it was. All right, moving on here. We go to Young and Wasted. Number 3 for me. This is another one that just blows the doors off, I think. And I feel like it's a bonus because I love this version because we got Gene on vocals, but I also love the live version where they let Eric do the vocals. And I've never quite understood why they made that decision, not in a bad way, but I just always kind of wondered, like, wonder why Gene didn't sing this. And I kind of got a hint why, because I had found another video that was released from that, actually this tour, not the Animalized tour, where Gene does do the vocals, and he's like messing up the lyrics left and right. So I almost feel like Gene just kind of decided, like, hey, I can't remember these damn words, you sing it. And Eric probably, I'm sure Eric loved the song. I'm just assuming here, but I'm assuming Eric probably jumped on it and said, hey, let me sing it, man. I love this, and I could do it. And then I feel like Eric does a heck of a job too. I don't want to say better, but he keeps that energy going too, with the way he sings it. And just another good fast-paced up-tempo song. I just love, it's a perfect song. To me, it's kind of up there. Like, if I had to kind of compare it to another classic, to me, it's always kind of stood up there with like kind of I don't know, I would probably say like Killer if I had to give it kind of a brother song, in my opinion. But yeah, just fantastic, but both ways, studio and live.
Yeah, this is number 6 for me. Yeah, it's a continuation of the energy of this album. And the song, it's just so great to jump around and headbang to. This song is, it gets you pumped. It gives you this energy. This is the kind of song that I would listen to if I was like preparing to go out somewhere and I was like putting makeup on and stuff. Like I would listen to this to get my, excitement building for it. You know what I mean?
Get the mojo working.
Or if I was a musician, yeah, there it is again. If I was a musician or a performer of some sort, and I had like a show to do, and I was looking for a way to get my heart pumping, I was looking for something to help me get built up. Like this is the kind of song that I would listen to do that. I mean, it's just all of it. The drums, they're pounding, that the bass is riffing and the rhythms are keeping, that vibe going. And then that solo, it nails it to help bring it to a completion. That's just, it's top of the line. So, yeah, this is number 6 for me.
I'd love to see what your makeup would look like at the end of putting it on from listening to this song and jumping around.
Just literally.
Yeah, if I was trying to do it as I was jumping around, I'd just be like, yeah. Of course, I could take an eye out if I jump too much. So
that's true. Number 6 for me also. Yes, and keeping in with what we talked about a little bit last week, what a perfect opportunity to let Eric sing a song on an album.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, though. Like you said, Gene's voice suits this song just perfect. It's not surprising at all that this was a Gene song. It sounds like a Gene song. But having heard Eric do it live, it just would have been so cool to have him do this at this point rather than letting Beth or Little Caesar be his on an album lead vocal debut. This would have been that Eric song. This one, to me, kind of goes right along with Gimme More. I think it's a nice mid-album upbeat. You got Gene with Young and Wasted and then Paul with Gimme More, and they're both that high-energy, upbeat songs that keep the middle of the album interesting, at least for me. Mm-hmm. Another weird thing for me on this one is I don't think that Eric actually performed the stops near the end of the song. On the studio version, this recording here, you can hear the hi-hats cut off like the tape was cut. And later they decided, oh, it would be so cool if we just stopped right there. Drum part was already recorded. Maybe they had already even torn them down. Eric couldn't go back in and just recut it. So they just literally stopped the tape and then started it again. And then later they stop it again and then it starts again. It doesn't sound natural to me. It sounds like a hard cut.
That'd be another interesting question to ask Michael James Jackson.
Yeah.
If he would remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm almost curious what it would have sounded like if even Vinny had sung this song. Give Vinny a track. But I mean, I totally agree about the Eric thing that he should have gotten at least a song on every album as long as he was in the band at the least. Really, the first version I knew of this song was that live version that was on Animalize. Because again, that was back at a time where I wasn't as appreciative of this whole album as I am now. So when I finally did start listening to this album and Young and Wasted comes on, I'm like, I assumed Eric really sang it on the album, and I put it on. I'm like, that's not Eric. I was like, that's Gene. I was like, holy cow! Like, weird.
Yeah.
Javier saw the unmasking live. Oh, you were there in the studio, huh?
Man, that would have been something.
If only they would have performed too, that would have made it a little extra cooler.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me. Give me more. Next up here, number 7 for me. Yeah, I mean, really, this is another solid song, and I used to not give this one as much credit to, but it is growing on me. Actually, I had flipped this as I was ranking songs. I originally was going to put this at 9, and then turned around and decided to switch it with another song. But it's really starting to grow on me, and and this whole album in general really is truly a solid album. It's right up there. I mean, I agree that it is neck to neck with Creatures, although I do give Creatures the edge. But anyway, Give Me More. Yeah, solid song, definitely growing on me, and we'll continue to do so.
This was number 8 for me, and it was just because I had to put it somewhere versus it actually being that low ranking for me, because I love the song. And this album is it's not lacking in the fast upbeat songs.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, there really isn't much that I can say about this song that I haven't already said about the other songs, because I feel the same about this song that I do about the other ones, with the energy and the excitement of it, and it just it's the same for me as the other ones were. So there wasn't really a whole lot new that I could say about it that I haven't already said. Yeah, so number 8.
This is number 3 for me. This is the other song I referenced earlier that is kind of in my top that I feel like I don't often hear other people talk positively about. Um, and I just love the feel, the energy, the feel. The riff is neat. What Paul sings, the vocal melodies, how those play over the riffs is super awesome. Um, and I often wonder if the lyrics aren't what catches some people off, because there's no way to get around that these lyrics are ridiculous and hokey. I mean, honestly, I'm weirded out that people constantly point to Gene with "I want to put my log in your fireplace," but jump right over this song where Paul says, "Come on, lick my candy cane." Love is sweet, so is sin. Come on, lick my candy cane. Doesn't even rhyme. Like,
That's why it made number 7 and not 9.
Merry Christmas.
It's so weird. It's so weird, but I do like the song a lot.
Yeah, you know, like with this album, and then going ahead with Animalize, and even Creatures, man. Like these 3 albums are just that perfect mindset for me. Is like, have you guys seen that Heavy Metal Parking Lot movie about the Judas Priest fans?
No.
It's a real short, like I think it's only like a 25-minute movie, but somebody filmed in the parking lot. They were all there for a Judas Priest show, and I forget who else played, but basically it was just like back in those days, around that same time of the 80s, where people would pretty much tailgate in the parking lot before they went into the show, just out there hanging out, drinking, having a good time, playing music, whatever, and just a bunch of metal kids. And I always feel like with the stuff that's on Lick It Up and Animalize and even Creatures, like I could just picture that in my head, like going to a Kiss show at that time, and that would be the same kind of atmosphere, in the parking lot. It's just those rowdy kids back in the day, and that's the way it was. And you watch the Animalize concert, you can even see some of them when they show the crowd. The ones they're just sitting there pumping their fists and everything. That's the kind of vibe I always get with these albums, because that's just that was where metal was at the time, and it was just that nice little time. And unfortunately, we don't really get stuff like that these days with people tailgating before shows and whatnot. It's a lot different these days when you go to shows.
Yeah.
When we can now at this point. All right. So next is All Hell's Breaking Loose. Excuse me. This is my number 2. Another great song. Paul with his little rapping. Got to kind of touch that a little bit, because rap was definitely becoming huge at that time, and so what better way to kind of get into that vein of what was becoming popular and cool at the time, but add a little bit of that to this song. Not only that, cool video too. It's another one that I feel like, unfortunately though, it's too similar to the Motley Crue video. I believe it's I want to say Looks at Kill video. I feel like they're almost too similar, the way the structure of the videos and the theming and everything. But anyway, All Hell's Breaking Loose, yeah, great. I love the little drum fills that Eric does when it goes into the like too much confusion, those little parts, and I just like the whole groove to it, especially when it goes into the verse parts, and where Paul's kind of doing his rap, if you want to call it that. And just another great song, and I wish they would have performed this live more than what they ever did. And I feel like this would be even possibly a better pick to play, today than some of the stuff that they choose to throw in from the 80s period. But who knows? Maybe we'll hear it on a cruise, but they probably won't ever pull it out in a regular show. Yeah, Too Young to Fall in Love. You're right, David. Thank you. That's the video I was thinking of. And Javier, thank you too.
Just yes. This is number 7 for me. I remember the first time I ever heard this song, and I laughed because I thought it was a joke, like because I'd never heard Paul talk in a song before, so I was, or like regularly, like this is what it's supposed to be. So it made me laugh the first time I ever heard it. Um, but then when I realized it wasn't a joke, like it grew on me. I'll say that. Like I always loved the chorus of this song. It's always been one of my favorite choruses. Like but the talking part had to grow on me because I was like, I don't know about that. But then, like, because it's just kind of odd and it doesn't. When I first heard it, I remember thinking that just doesn't fit with this song. But now that it's grown on me, and now that I've heard it so much, like it wouldn't sound right without it, you know. But it's just, it's another great solo in this song, and I like that constant drum beat that it's got. It has these small like drum fills here and there that are really cool, and they're all in the right places. But the group vocals, those big vocals are just my favorite part of this song.
7 for me as well. Yeah. This is maybe the weirdest and coolest guitar riff in a Kiss song ever. It's just so weird. And Eric Carr wrote it. So, I mean, how can you argue against that? Now, again, I think this might have been in the Behind the Makeup book. I need to read that again because I feel like I've got a lot of weird bits from that I don't quite remember. But I remember reading about a story of Eric tuning a guitar weird, coming up with this riff, giving it to them. They wrote a song around it, but he hadn't heard the lyrics. And when Paul did the vocal track, Eric came in and listened to it and was horrified and absolutely hated it. And I'm curious if I'm remembering that right. I'm pretty sure I read that. I'm thinking it was in that Behind the Makeup book.
That's a book I still need to read, so I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, but it's very interesting.
It's like poor Eric. He comes in with this, and Paul's like, "Cool, I'll just rap over it."
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. Yeah, I think this might be the catchiest chorus on the album. This one or the title track. Right, both up there. It's such a sing-along thing, and yeah, I'm maybe not 100% on the spoken vocals, but I don't hate them either, and I can't picture anything else being there. You know,
right.
Yeah.
And again, that part where it does the breakdown, the all hell's breaking, that boom, boom, and again, just picturing that 80s metal and just pumping their fist along to it, you know.
Yeah.
Javier says you are correct, Luke.
Nice.
And what is it too about that video where Gene's like squirting that stuff in his mouth?
Yeah, I don't know.
I always thought it was mustard.
It's so weird.
I'm like, why is Gene in love with mustard that much?
Yeah, they're doing weird stuff like that in the Lick It Up video too, where they're squirt like weird green stuff.
Yeah,
what?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. As a Lick It Up dude, but one of them, it's like God, I didn't know Gene liked mustard that much. That's
Maybe he was like making deviled eggs and like he forgot to put the mustard in it. And so he was like,
he's like, this is exciting.
Yes.
All right. Next we have A Million to One, and this one became number 9 for me for this listen here. I've definitely gotten more respect for this song in the recent years, mainly with Vinny's comeback when because Vinny would perform this song as an acoustic version, and Vinny singing the song on top of that. So again, kind of throwing back to the idea of maybe they should have let Vinny sing a track on here, and maybe this would have been a good one too. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Paul sounds amazing on here. It's a great song, but there was just something about the way Vinny sung it, and playing it acoustically, like just gave it a whole different feel. That excuse me, I really like that version too. But again, some great harmony on the choruses there, and it's another sadly underrated song, but again, just another knock it out of the park song on here. There really isn't a bad song on here yet.
Number one for me.
Mm.
I feel like I've made my feelings for the song clear before. Um, it's just from start to finish. There's just not one bad thing about this song. Um, I love the softer beginning that it has, and when those drums starts, it just makes me have this nostalgia that reminds me of why I love this band and just music in general. These are the kind of songs that when I hear a song like this, like it redefines why I love music as much as I do. Um, it just Paul's vocals are on point. They're perfect in this song. Um, and I wish more than anything that this could have been one of their big hits, because I could see this song being performed in my head, like Paul running around on the stage singing this song. Like I see the whole performance in my head every time I hear it. It gives me goosebumps from start to finish every time I hear it. Like it's the first time I've heard it all over again, and number one, like hands down, without a doubt, for me, it's number one.
Javier agrees with you. He said it should have been a single. His opinion,
Yes.
the second best 80s ballad behind I Still Love You.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I could get behind that. This is my number two. And yeah, my notes are all along that same line. I'm surprised this one didn't take off more. It seems like the kind of Kiss song in this era that would have been bigger. This song is 100 times more catchy than half of the 80s metal tunes that came out from other bands in this era. This is the closest this album comes to a ballad, I think. There isn't really any clean or soft bits, say like I Still Love You, but it definitely feels like that kind of song. I thought the same thing Javier did, that it's comparable to like I Still Love You and Forever comes to mind. Those kinds of Kiss songs, this one it stands right up there with them to me.
Do you think this would have been a better choice as a single instead of, say, All Hell's Breaking Loose?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I could go either way. I don't think Hell's Breaking Loose was a bad choice, but I wouldn't have been mad if it would have been this one instead.
I think that's just the problem they ran into is, again, there was just too many good songs, and they probably just didn't have the time to put out as many singles as they would have liked.
Right.
Right. I
Javier
feel like
said,
this song, like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
go ahead.
I feel like this song when it starts, like when I see the performance in my head, like when those drums come in, I can just see Eric just like the whole thing, like it's just like the whole thing, like the whole performance in my head, like I love it every time I hear it, and like just seeing him hit those drums, you know what I mean, and then it just starts and they're all like, oh, I love it so much, like every time I hear it, like I can't not picture that, and I'm like, God, I wish so much that this could have been a single that they would have performed this live, because I feel like it would have been just one of the best songs that when you listen to the concerts back, you think, okay, A Million to One's next. You know what I mean? Like it's. I wonder where it would have been on the set had they played it live. Too, like where they would have put it.
I think it'd almost be a good one to start while Paul's still out on his B stage, and then once it kind of kicks in, he's either flying back to the stage or just maybe does the whole thing out there.
I could see him flying over the audience as it's starting. Like that would be awesome. That would have been so cool.
See, at this, it's like at this point, we're never gonna hear Kiss do this. Now, I say that, but yeah, there's that chance that they might pull it out on a cruise. But I'm talking like full blown concert, and it makes me think that like if this whole Kiss 2.0 thing does happen, that's the main thing I ask is, what? Get up there, and I want you guys to play every album in its entirety, little by little. Play however many albums at a time, this tour, do that. Give us something like that, Don't get up there and play the same set list they're playing now, and it's a bunch of different guys. That's not going to do it for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Javier thinks that the best 80s ballad by any band is still Loving You, which is the Scorpions, followed by I Still Love. he also never heard All Hell's Breaking on the radio, but Million for sure would have been on the radio. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's one thing I can kind of, if I could borrow a little bit from what our buddy Anthony X in his book that I've been reading, he mentions a lot that there's songs that should be, in rotation on classic rock stations, and that is definitely one of them. To kind of borrow from him, and I totally agree. It should be on the radio now.
Yep.
All right, Fits Like a Glove, number 1. Again, I just can't get enough of this song. One of my favorite Gene songs, period. Just, one of my favorite Kiss songs, period. I just love what everybody is doing on this song. It makes the song as powerful as it is, and just I love that opening riff, and when the drums kick in with the and it takes off once again from there. I mean, just nonstop energy and power on this album, let alone this song. Just how we've had so many albums in the past where at this point we're like, oh, it's starting to slow down. Like, no, not with this. Like, especially with Kiss. I mean, it's getting its second win by this point, if you want to call it that. Just everything about it. Eric's drum fills, the solos, Gene's little breakdown part, knife through butter and all that stuff. And then again, I always kind of go to the Animalized concert. That's always kind of been my, signature version of this song, I guess, as far as, live performances, and love that as well. Love the, love the little rap that Paul does before the song, and just such a perfect song in my opinion, and obviously up there is one of my favorite Gene songs.
Yep, this one was number 5 for me. I love the gritty sound that this song has, and the guitar has the same kind of gritty tones that Gene's vocals do, and I love that they were able to capture that perfectly. Because if Gene's vocals were a guitar sound, it would be this song. And that middle vocal after the talking, when Gene does that incline, it just helps to showcase his voice even more.
Oh man!
And that grittiness that he has, I love that so much. But then anything else that I have to say about the song, again, is just repeating what I've already said about the other songs. It's just as good. It's just as powerful. So, yeah,
Yes, number 4 for me. I got a story to illustrate a point I want to make about this. Several years ago, I was in a band that did, like the bar circuit and the cover songs and everything. And one of the songs we did was Black Sabbath Paranoid. And we did it a little bit more like the Megadeth cover. So it was a little quicker, a little bit more upbeat. But we had issues with it because sometimes we would just get going way too fast. Way too fast. The song would be over in a minute, and there would be times that my dad, who ran sound for us, would afterwards be like, "You cannot play that song that fast. It ruined it. You might as well not even done it. It was embarrassingly fast." And it goes to show how easy it is to let adrenaline just absolutely take you away and ruin a song that's otherwise good. And you don't even realize you're playing it that fast. Mm-hmm. Happens all the time with live bands. This song, for me, Fits Like a Glove, represents a really unique energy that I don't think it could possibly be ruined by that. I think this one even gets a little better with that crazy fast live energy. Somehow, this one gets better instead of worse when it's played too fast. Mm-hmm. It's strange. I got so used to the Animalized Live Uncensored, and then we used to do this one with Sweet Pain, that when this listened through when the recording started, I was like, "Man, it's kind of slow." But yeah, the energy is just one of my favorite energies on the album because of that. Just that knowing that them doing it stupid fast, it's still fine. It even works a little better. And this might be the highlight of the album as far as Gene's vocals for me. He just absolutely kills it, and it sounds like it took every bit of energy he had to do some of those screams. Insane. And then, of course, got to highlight another cool song ending that's not just a fade out.
Yeah.
This one punch you in the ribs with that ending.
Yeah, and another small part that I forgot to mention is just, I believe it's after the solo, and then they're doing the that and then right before that last chorus, Gene just does that little like that right there too. Yeah, I totally agree with the Animalize thing, because a lot of times we we'll kind of pick on that concert as far as the tempo, but that I feel the same way. This song, it does it really lends to it on to be played that fast. And I don't know, I always kind of wish Gene would have done the full like Buddha thing, but he never did that live. So
yeah.
All right, we got 2 tracks here to go. So next up is Dance All Over Your Face. Okay, this one is number 10 for me, dead last. I mean, it is what it is. It's just never really done much for me, and on this listen, it's the same thing. I want to say I ranked it number 10 on the last time we did this too. So that's really all I'll care to say about it. That's all it does for me. Number 10.
Yep, number 10 for me as well. It was so odd compared to the rest of the album. I feel like this was more of an add-on versus that it was supposed to be there. It feels more like a throwaway, like a last-minute decision that they just, here's another one. Like, we need to add more songs to the album, so just add this on here. It didn't really feel like, it didn't give me the same kind of feeling and the energy that the rest of the album did. It just, I mean, it's an okay song, but for the way that, for this album and the energy that it had, it kind of fell flat at this point with this song. And that chorus being so repetitive, just, it was not up there with the rest of it. It didn't quite, it just didn't add up the way that the rest of it did. So, yeah. Number 10.
Yep, same, 10 as well. Yeah, I don't hate the song. I think out of context of the album, it's still a good song.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely feels more throwaway than the rest of the album. And coming out of the energy, it fits like a glove. This one's just a little too plotty. And it's hard not to draw a comparison to A Million to One for me on this one because of the lyrical content. Because they're both kind of about the same thing. Girl breaks up with Paul. Paul's like, all right, but you're never going to get anything this good. Girl breaks up with Gene. He's like, I'm going to dance on your face. Like, what? Huh? I think that's one of the weird problems I have with the song is the image of the title bothers me. It's just so weird.
Yeah, I feel like especially with the whole image and the attitude, couldn't you have just at least just went straight forward and say, kick you in the face or something like that,
right.
Something that sounds a little more like, whoa, I don't want to mess with this guy.
Yeah.
Dance. I'm going to
dance.
I'm going to do the Charleston on your face. Harry says, crazy talk. Crazy, I say. Javier agrees with Harry, so we have a mutiny building up in the chat.
Again.
I feel like this song, though, would have been better, because with A Million to One, that's repetitive in the chorus, too, but there's lines in between him saying the title of the song, whereas with this one, it was just the title of the song over and over and over and over again, back to back, and it was like, if he would have just, put some breaks in there and maybe said a couple other lines in there, it would have been more bearable, but, and just that imagery, too, of that particular wording, is weird,
I get to see Gene. Hello, my baby. Hello.
Yes. Let's put it with that, that frog, that cartoon frog
Yeah, yeah.
that dances to that.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
let's do
saying. Put
that.
Gene's face on that.
Yes.
And and I don't. This may not make any sense, but to me, it's like, because I know we're talking like 6 years apart, but I almost feel like this song would have felt better on like Hot in the Shade, to be honest. But and
I can
even
see
even
it.
the title just sounds like something that would have been on that, Hot in the Shade era. But
It maybe would have fit that one a little bit better because I don't feel like it fit this album.
mhm.
With the way that the rest of the songs had been up to this point, I just feel like it was out of place. It just didn't quite have the same tone, same energy as the other ones did.
Yeah, and again, it kind of comes down to like, okay, let's go back through like some of those demos that we know that Gene has written. Let's even some of the ones from the '70s, like pull one of those out and structure it
Yeah.
up to fit this album. Maybe that would have been a better option. Who knows? But
Yeah.
and then we go to and on the 8th day, and wow, so cliche of me. This is number 8. Kind of a good, well, not kind of a good, but I feel like it's a bit of a redeemer from the last song. But I also like that this ends the album. It's kind of an interesting way. I wasn't expecting, again, I say this thinking of the first time I ever heard this, but wasn't expecting the album to end on a track like this, because again, I feel like this song could have easily fit on Creatures. It just, to me, has that same feel, and every time I hear the song, I almost hear the Creatures drums on this instead of the way it sounds on tape. Like, it just sounds like it would have fit perfectly just as well. But yeah, I love that chorus. It's very catchy, and just a good way to take the album out. Very solid.
This is number 9 for me, and I feel the same way about this one as I did about Dance All Over Your Face. It feels more like an add-on to the end of the album, like they tacked it on. It's not my favorite on the album, and I don't feel like it's the greatest closer. And I originally said that I in my notes I put that I wish they would have just cut the album off after Fits Like a Glove, because I feel like that would have been the stronger closer. It only would have been 8 songs, but now I'm thinking maybe with these last 2 songs, if they would have just put them in different places on the album, like they could have still had the 10 songs, and I feel like Fits Like a Glove would have been a way better closer for this album, because they would have ended it on that energy, and the way that it just has that real solid ending, you know what I mean? Like that would have been better, I think, in the long run versus this song.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this one kind of just, I wasn't really feeling this one this time either. Like with the last one, so I don't know what it was that just kind of didn't hit me right this time.
Right.
Yeah, 8 for me on this one, and yeah, it's kind of similar to Dance All Over Your Face for me too. Kind of. Again, not at all a bad song. It just doesn't quite catch me as well as the rest of the album, and especially near the end, it feels to me just a little bit underdeveloped. What I really wish they would have done more with was that drum beat that Eric Carr did over one of those last choruses. The da, 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 that might have been the coolest part of the whole song, and I wish they had even just repeated the chorus again with that drum beat. Would have been kind of a neat, and I feel like they could have come up with a cool ending for the song and for the album, therefore, based on that sort of a rhythm. So yeah, an okay song, but again, it feels a little bit too much like filler, and therefore not near as good an album closer as War Machine was. I feel like that's a hard comparison not to do, with the last one ending so cool for this one to just sort of, fade out,
Yeah.
And,
that's definitely debatable. Like the best album closer. I mean, War Machine's got to be right in that conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Wraps up Lick It Up here. So we'll get into our overall rankings and everything. If anyone in the chat, if you guys haven't sent your rankings for this album, feel free to do so before we get into that moment of tallying everything up. We still have time to get your votes in. So overall, I give this album an 8. I'll tell you, I said it before, Michael James Jackson is, to me, probably the most underrated Kiss producer. And in my opinion, he's just pretty much my favorite. I mean, the guy, produced my favorite of all the Makeup albums, Creatures, and now, at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that Lick It Up has become my favorite non-Makeup album, and Michael James is all over that as well. So, I mean, right there, the guy has his stamp on my 2 favorite albums of each era. So, to me, that says a lot. But again, like I said, I love the production on this album overall. It's nice and clean. The drums are right there. You can feel that kick drum. The bass guitar is just right. I mean, I feel like everything is mixed very well. I feel like it, still could stand up to a lot of things today that you hear. Definitely, like we had mentioned, wish they would have performed more of these songs live, or even had carried them on, past this tour. Some of these songs that they didn't do quite as much, but glad we at least have some record of them playing them live at one point or another, some of these songs. But yeah, just I felt like this was a great way to keep the ball rolling, especially, with doing such a ballsy move as taking the makeup off. And, they were obviously, risking it all pretty much. And I can imagine how nervous they probably were when the album came out, waiting to see, what people's reactions would be. And, and let alone, the MTV thing, how people were going to react from that. And thankfully everyone was pretty much cool with it. And, it really did give us a different type of Kiss. They really did feel like a whole different band immediately when they, started the Lick It Up tour. From then on out with the non-makeup stuff, it kind of did feel like a different band up there. And I feel like, it just continued to get better as these non-makeup years go on. And so I definitely cannot wait to get into all of these non-makeup albums yet again, revisiting some of them. And it's definitely a great period of the band. And it was special.
Yes, I gave this album a 10 out of 10. Um, I could remember, I can remember thinking when I was trying to think of all the different albums as to which ones would reach a 10 level for me. And there were 2 that I could think of. Creatures was one of them, and the other one has yet to come. But then I just forgot about all the great songs on this album. And overall, it's just one of my favorite Kiss albums of all time. Like, in the whole discography, it's one of my favorites. There's not a bad song on it. The energy of this album is just insane. Um, I think the production was done really well, and the drums are clear. They're hard hitting, which I always like. To feel that, in the chest, like, that's what I like about the drums, and you feel that with this album. Um, the main and the rhythm guitars flow really well with one another. You can hear the bass and the vocals. They don't overpower anything, but they still manage to shine and stand out. But they're not like the main focus of the album, I don't feel. Um, so when they're able to do that, because a lot of times with bands, the vocals is what they focus on. The vocals and the guitar are the 2 things that are focused on the most, and everything else kind of gets um, put in the background. But with this album, the vocals, they shined, they stood out, but they also didn't, like, they weren't the main focus, which was really nice. Um, so yeah, it just, with A Million to One being on this album, and then just the energy and the just epicness of these songs just helped it reach that 10 level for me.
Yeah, sorry to burst your bubble, but we won't be doing smashes, thrashes, and hits, so you won't be getting your favorite non-makeup album.
Clearly.
So the mutiny in the chat has now become a fight amongst each other.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you, Harry.
Yeah, I've never had any problem with Revenge, and am genuinely taken aback and surprised anytime I see anybody say bad things about it, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Revenge is great too, but again, just like Destroyer was my favorite makeup album for a long time, Creatures took it, and same thing with Revenge, and now Lick It Up. So
I went with 8 overall for this as well. Kiss was clearly back in their game. I talked a little bit about that last week, how even though Dynasty and Unmasked and The Elder aren't bad at all, Creatures was them getting back to what they were really good at. And this was just a continuation of that, as far as I'm concerned, right back in the game. Creatures and Lick It Up begin the era that really caught me growing up more than anything else. And I've talked about that several episodes way back about how the no makeup era appealed to me first, and then I got back into the whole thing. And as a young guitarist, I was especially interested in Vinny's choice of notes and his solos, and I feel like this album represents that a little better than Creatures overall. Still to this day, I'm not sure I've heard another guitarist that utilizes the melodic scale the way that Vinny did and does still. I'm a bit glad he didn't continue too far with Kiss, having said that, though. I feel like those kinds of solos, like on this album, and especially how he did the older songs live, would have gotten old really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we have them because it's interesting, and I'm still really interested in the solos and the unorthodox approach, but to have that more permanently, or to have that in songs from Animalize and Asylum, no, wouldn't have liked it as much. And furthermore, I'm not personally of the mind that Vinny saved Kiss. Just me personally. I think he helped a lot, contributing really good riffs and stuff to these songs. And I think he was a key player in them, coming back. But I don't think it can really be blamed on him. I don't think he can be properly credited for the stylistic change that Creatures had. I think they started that before they even knew him, let alone he was involved. And then this album and the next few albums dig into that. Again, I maintain that it was Paul. Paul is who grabbed the reins and forcefully yanked the ship back on course, But yeah, again, sticking with Michael James Jackson was 100% the right choice for producer. I think he captured the same magic sonically that he did on Creatures, but built on it a bit to create a bit more of a mixed, balanced sound that I think lends itself perfectly to these songs. Again, the production for this fits this album great, and it may not have fit. I don't think the Creature songs would sound as good with this production, maybe. It works for what each one is. And overall, the 80s era of Kiss is and will always be my personal favorite era. And this album earns its place, I think, with some of the best songs they wrote in this decade or the next.
Yeah, and what you were saying about the Vinny stuff, I'm surprised you didn't mention it this time, but on Fits Like a Glove, that weird note that he does that you always mention, that ring, ring, ring.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Robbie Starr's Revenge Rules, possibly my favorite. Robbie, you've been banned. I don't know why you're here. Your comments about Creatures. No, just kidding.
Yes, revenge. This is, what, we talk about this occasionally on the podcast, but we haven't for a little while. I hope everybody recognizes what this is, and what's going on in the comments is just one of the great things about music. It's not that we're right and you guys are wrong, or that Harry's right and you guys are wrong, or Javier's right and you guys are wrong. This is one of the greatest things about music, that everything appeals to a different person. Everybody likes stuff a little bit different. To somebody, Unmasked is the only good thing Kiss ever did, and that's weird, but something for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, we've said it a million to one times. If everyone sat here and was yeah, that's right, that's right, and we're all like, yeah, this is my number one too. And, it's like, click off. What's the point of doing it?
Right. It's just everybody
I feel
agreeing
like
all the
that.
time.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that does fairly happen. It happens fairly often that we do agree, but it's interesting when we don't agree on things because it's interesting to see how one song is like for me, A Million to One was the best song on this album, but for Eli, it was almost at the bottom. You know
Right,
what I mean? And it's weird to see. It's interesting to see how that hits you differently, how it
right.
hits everybody differently, and everybody has, he's not wrong in his opinion. I don't personally agree with it, but he's not wrong for his opinion, you know what I mean, because that's how it hit him, that's how he perceived it. So it's interesting when you see that, like, everybody's opinions are so vastly different sometimes, but it's cool that it happens that way, because yeah, if we agreed all the time on everything, it would be so boring and just so, like, who wants to watch that where everybody agrees all the time?
Yeah,
Like, because I
yeah. I
would,
mean, just because I
like
rank
something like
something,
that.
say number 10, doesn't mean I don't understand or even agree why you ranked it number one per se. Because
Yes.
I can understand it, and again, it's like sometimes I hate that we have to put numbers on these songs because I know a
Yes.
lot of people just immediately think that, oh, you hate that song because it's number 10, but no,
Right.
it's not really that. It's just, like we said before, when we did this whole thing the first time, and then here we are doing it again. That a month from now, our list can totally change, our taste can change, and how one song hits you from the
Yeah.
next. Or I mean, it's totally true. I mean,
Yeah.
that's been proven a lot already. Like when Luke mentions what we voted the last time, there's differences for the most part, as far as our top threes and whatnot. And it's just it's cool to see that, and just to continue to grow as a Kiss fan, even though sometimes you might think to yourself like, oh, there's no way I can love the band anymore or whatever, but I find myself still finding like even more love even these days than I ever have, like just enjoying watching live clips and things like that, and it's just like, just really taking it in and
Yeah.
enjoying it.
And I think this is the reason we have a Kiss podcast. You know what I mean? There's, at least for us, there is no bad Kiss songs. You might hear
Yeah.
us talk insane amounts of crap about some of these, but none of us hate any of these. I would take Dance All Over Your Face as the only song I ever listen to again for the rest of my life over most other music I've heard. I'm super picky when it comes to bands I like. I would take Peter songs that I make fun of all the time. I'd take the Peter Criss solo album on repeat as the only thing I listen to for the rest of my life over the majority of other music I've heard in my life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Or Talk to Me.
Yeah, I would take Talk to Me. I think
Yeah.
I said that in the Unmasked episode. If I had to go to an island and all I had was a disc with just Talk to Me on it, I would gladly listen to that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean,
no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I've said it 100 times, and it's not cliche. Like you said, I do not dislike any song on all of the Kiss discography. I mean, there's not one song that if I'm listening to the album, I just cannot stand it so bad that I have to skip it or anything. Like, to me, that's asinine when I hear people talk about skipping over a song, and it's like, no, like I can take it. And yeah, it may not be my favorite, but it doesn't mean I hate it. And
Right.
it's not like, say I'm sitting at your house or in your car and a song comes on, I'm not going to sit there and like, oh God, and turn the song off because, it's deplorable. Like, no, there's no song like that in the Kiss discography for me.
Yeah.
I can easily listen to all the albums. They're very listenable. Yeah, and we like to, poke fun every now and then because you know what, it's just natural. We're allowed to, to make little jokes about the songs because we love the band, and Kiss themselves do that. They'll take little, they'll make little jokes about themselves at times if you watch interviews, and you can't take yourself too seriously. I mean, we do that about our own music and the music that we make with our bands, and we're always making little jokes and things. You just have to be that way. You cannot take yourself too seriously, and just that's not what life's about. So,
right.
Let's see.
I appreciate that, Javier.
We have the kumbaya moment happening now.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I love this podcast, being able to see everyone's opinions while the show's being made. Thank you, man. Harry Only Kids, look it up. As a fantastic album. He'll never bash anyone's thoughts, just all in fun. Don't take it as I'm being a prick about it or anything. Definitely not.
Nah, we're good.
Robbie, I think I just get burned out on some albums when I listen to them too much. Probably next year, Creatures and Lick It Up will be my favorite albums. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we're doing the discography again, even though we'd already done it. We knew our opinions would change,
Javier even respects Simon's opinion.
When I first read that comment, I thought he was trying to say Simmons and he just spelled it wrong. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, that's not what he meant.
No.
Yeah. No.
I don't know if you guys watched any of the Second Coming episodes where we were doing just Kiss-related albums instead of the actual discography. But if any of you think for a second that I've been tough on any of these Kiss albums, you have no idea. We went weeks and weeks.
I think that goes for all of us, though.
Yeah, we nothing but bad things about the albums we were hearing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
if
were all fairly tough on some of those.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to hear us talk about things that we generally did hate that we heard, yeah, go back and watch some of those episodes.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those I will be happy to never hear again in my life. Ever.
Yeah.
Yes. What was I thinking? I forget now. So we'll just move on to our True Confession segment here, and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right, we are back. Hopefully you guys in the chat have some true confessions ready to go. Let's go backwards this time. Luke, you start.
All right. Okay, so I think it more or less goes without saying. This is just for me. This is just my personal opinion on it. I know I'm weird that I like the 80s more than the 70s stuff generally anyway. For me, this album would be near the top of my list as far as the whole catalog is concerned. But just for me personally, I feel like Creatures, Animalized, and Asylum do a lot of the same things Lick It Up does, but a little better. Just for me.
Okay.
Me next?
Yeah.
Okay. My true confession this time is, again, I'm going to reiterate A Million to One. And I think I've said it before, but it is the all-time favorite Kiss song. If I had to pick one, it would be this one. And I told Luke, when I asked him, I said, what album are you guys doing today? He's like, Lick It Up. I was like, well, I can't miss that one because that's got my favorite Kiss song of all time on it. Like, I can't miss the podcast this time. It was like literally a half an hour before it was starting, and I texted Luke's mom, and I was like, can you come watch the baby so I can be on the podcast? Like, so I couldn't miss it this time.
That's awesome.
It just, that song just has this way. There are certain songs in my life, certain albums and certain songs that when I hear them, it just brings this whole flood of these feelings and these memories. And like another example, I'll just kind of go off a little off topic, is I used to work at Ponderosa years and years ago when I was in high school, and the very first time I ever heard the album Warning by Green Day, I was walking to work, and I remember that every time I listened to that album, I remember that exact feeling. I remember the air. I remember it was kind of cold outside. I remember everything about that moment when I was listening to the album as I was walking to work. And this song is the same exact way. I remember the way I was feeling the first time I ever heard it, the smell in the air, just everything about this song. I remember every feeling I was having at the time, and the way that the weather was, the way that the where we were living. Like I remember everything about it. So it's like every time I hear it, it unleashes this whole other flood of emotions. So it's like every time, and I think that's why I'm so attached to it and why I love it so much, because it hit me in just such a way that it invokes those feelings. So every time I hear it, I'm like I just sit and I just like I breathe and I love the moment.
Hmm. And that right there is one of the beautiful things about music too, is invoking those true emotions and feelings. And
Yes.
God, I'm there with you. I mean, weirdly enough, I have that weird kind of thing with Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden, and what's that one song by Lisa Loeb, Stay, that you say only here, because
Oh yeah. Yes.
the reason why is because that one particular summer I was doing a paper route. It was called the Shoppers News, and I always remembered, it's just like that summer feeling and going out in the garage, and the radio would be on, and the radio was always playing those two songs a lot because they had basically just come out. And I just always remember the smell of those newspapers as we were getting them ready, and then the summer feeling in the air, and then those songs playing on the radio as I'm doing that. So every time I hear those, especially Black Hole Sun, to this day, I just get that weird kind of like, that nostalgic kind of vibe and feeling, for, it's weird how certain songs will do that to you. Especially
Right, and
something like
it's
Black
hard.
Hole.
It's hard to put it into words
Yeah,
how it makes
yeah,
you feel, because it's like you want to sit and you're trying to like get the exact right wording for how it makes you feel, but like you end up just repeating 1,000 things over and over again, because it's like that's what you do, because it's like I don't
yeah.
know how else to like put it into words, but it's like this feeling. It's the
Uh,
feeling.
and it's just weird because like you don't expect it to be that song to do that, and because like at the time,
Yes.
I'm not thinking like, oh, Black Hole Sun, this is great, but for some reason, like maybe a few years or however long after I didn't do that paper out anymore, and I heard that song, it just immediately brought that memory back and that smell of the newspapers, and
Yep.
I don't know why, but it does, and it still does to this day.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I could still picture that image, and just feeling that summer, cool air, and just that feeling of summer. So as far as my true confession here, we kind of touched on it, but I wished they would have given Eric a track on here to sing, and even possibly Vinny as well. And also, I wish that they would have done a live 3 around this era, or maybe even around Animalize, would like say the Animalize Uncensored Pause. But this era would have been cool too, just to have the Vinny and Eric, line up, properly, forever on a good live album, official live album. I think would have been a good time to do an Alive 3 for this as well.
Definitely.
I do agree that Vinny helped with the Kiss sound. I'm not a believer of the whole saving Kiss thing either. I still feel like that was just a big joke, tongue-in-cheek joke that was created by another show, but that's the most I'll say about that. I feel like Eric, if anybody, saved Kiss more than anything with what he brought to the band, and continued to do so, vocals and everything else. I've always said and continue to say that Eric would have fit just as well as an original member, because I felt like, as much as I love Peter and everything he's done, I felt like Eric kind of was more similar to those guys as far as where they all came from and their look and everything else. But yeah, so again, as far as Lick It Up, like I said, Michael James Jackson, one of probably my favorite Kiss producer of all time now at this point, and so that's what it is. So we got a couple here. Well, first David Smith said, "Love you guys and gal," and the new edition. No bad songs. Trying to list is like and yeah, don't get us wrong, people.
Yeah.
It's not like nobody was getting upset or mad when we went on that little speak earlier, but we just like to reiterate the tune of the show every now and then. You're not gonna what do you call it?
Whoa.
Hey, what's up, man? But you guys aren't gonna God, I can't think of the word. Anyway, offend us is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
We're not easily offended, so we don't take it as we were getting chuffed about something and had to stand on a soapbox. So, again, we love y'all. Yeah. We appreciate all their input. Robbie's true confession is his favorite solo on Lick It Up is the solo by Rick Derringer on Exciter. That's very cool. That to me is just as shocking as hearing Bryan Adams being a part of War Machine. It's like, wow, where'd that come from? Harry's true
I think too. There was something that Steve Lukather did too. He soloed on something, didn't he? That it was like, what? When we found that out, I can't remember.
It was on the Peter Criss solo album.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it was? Okay, I couldn't remember for sure, but it was like, what? Like.
Harry's true confession is he hated Lick It Up when it first came out. He despised Kiss for taking off the makeup. He started listening to Prince, Huey Lewis, and the popular pop music at the time. Yeah, I mean, that's probably, I would probably say the third or even fourth instance in Kiss's career already where people would, might have jumped off the boat, because as early as Destroyer, people got discouraged with that. And then I would probably say, like Dynasty era, and then again with Elder, and then here with Lick It Up, you had people. So, for them not, just barely being into 10 years of the band, they had already had a few instances of losing fans, but thankfully, was able to get them right back. And again, there's nothing wrong with Prince, Huey Lewis. I love both those artists. They both have a lot of great songs, and good. I've always said good tunes is good tunes. That's the way I look at it. Javier's true confession is the last album where Gene sounds like the Demon, and that this should have been a makeup album. Then take the makeup off for Animalize. Yeah, I agree too. Gene definitely still has that Creature sound on this album. I will give him a little credit though. There's certain songs that I could think of coming down the road that he kind of touches back on that, but we'll get to those when we get there. Yeah, I don't know. Like to me, just like I was saying with the song "Lick It Up," I don't know. It's hard for me to picture this as like a makeup era, but who knows? Had they have kept the makeup on, I wouldn't even be saying it because it would have just been one of the songs anyway, and it wouldn't have been an issue. Yeah, Harry agrees with the Eric statement. He brought a new vitality to the band that hadn't been seen in a while. Absolutely. Brought a whole new breath of fresh air. His energy and the way he played even those original songs that he didn't play on, he brought a whole new like view to those songs, like the way he would play them and some of the things that he would add. And Eric was definitely a fill monster. That's the way I like to think about it. He had some great fills throughout all the years, so many that we mentioned even just on this album alone, and even Creatures.
And he was just so good at it, He
made it look effortless, and I don't know how the guy never had a sore hip because you see certain pictures and how far his hi-hat was to his left and how far he was reaching. It's a wonder that the guy didn't have hip problems.
Yeah, his bass drums were always really far apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be able to stand on his kick drums and not fall.
Yeah.
I've always been afraid to try that. I'd tumble.
Yeah, 100%.
That'd be the last you see of me.
He was such a tiny guy, though, that it was like probably effortless for him to do it. Like,
yeah, I wish I could have seen him. I was just a little too young at that time to have been able to go to a concert. And wish I could have, but I'm sure it was a cool thing to witness live. Speaking of that, I got to give a quick shout out. Yesterday was the year anniversary of Neil Peart's passing already. Still doesn't seem like it's been a year, but wanted to give a shout out to Neil as well. Thankfully, there was some cool videos on YouTube from Hudson that were paying tribute to him. Real quick here, we'll read these two comments and then we'll get into the final tallies and get this thing wrapped up here.
I'm going to go pee real quick.
All right. So Robbie says he believes that the older you get, albums you didn't care for years ago, you appreciate more now, and your mind is more open to listen to different tastes of music. Hey, Savannah, do you play a musical instrument?
I do not fluently play a musical instrument. For a little while, Luke's dad runs a music studio, and he does some student bands, and I was in one of those for a little while. I played bass. Not fluently, just mediocrely, I guess you could say. I wasn't really that practiced in it, but I could play it enough and play it well enough to get through the songs okay, I think. I always wanted to learn how to play guitar and piano, but I just never really had the extra time to really sit and commit to it. But it's something that I always wanted to do. But with the way that life is, it just gets to you, and I know, especially now with the baby and stuff, I just don't have the extra time that I could dedicate to really sitting down and practicing it and learning it. And I have the habit of being frustrated very easily when I can't figure things out, when I can't get it fairly quickly. So I feel like if I tried to sit down and play the guitar, especially, like, I would quit because it would frustrate me so bad that I wouldn't be able to stick with it. But I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano and play the guitar. But I played bass for a little while.
I agree. I've always wanted to learn. I've always wanted to learn to play like the violin or something. And I wish I had. Yes. I always wish I had learned more on like the guitar or bass myself. Like, I was even just telling Luke recently, like, there's times that, like, I know it in my head, I just don't know how to play it on a guitar or to say what the notes are. Like, say if I'm trying to show one of the guys, something in one of the Kiss songs, it's like I could tell you right in my head, what it is, but I wish I could just be like, here, let me show you real quick, blah blah blah. But so
we played. There's some video and stuff on Facebook of us playing, and I think we even did. What Kiss song did we do, Luke?
We did "Thief in the Night" one year, I think.
"Thief in the Night," yeah, I think it is, and I think there's footage of that one on Facebook somewhere, where I played bass for that, and I think Luke, you sang that, didn't you, Luke?
I think so.
And then I helped do like that background vocals for that.
And then Savannah set her bass on fire at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Let's see. And then Javier said his second true confession is that he cannot mail me any of his belt buckles. Damn. Come on, man. just one, man. Just one. Javier's been posting his impressive Kiss belt buckle collection. A lot of vintage.
Yeah, I've seen those. They're
cool stuff. So.
Yep.
What do we got here? Robbie said, very cool, the bass. Your hubby is one of the best guitarists I've heard in a long time. Rock on.
Oh, psh.
Yes.
And then Harry says, Savannah, you feel about your bass playing like I feel about me singing for Kissish.
Nah. You guys are both too hard on yourselves.
Yeah, I remember I was thinking about this earlier when Luke was talking about Fits Like a Glove, about the fastness of it, about the fast-pacedness of it. And the band, one of the bands he used to be in when he would play regularly all the time, they had originals that they would play. And one of the originals was called Escape, and they would do that. They would play it really, really, really fast live. And I can remember the very first time, because they used to play like every weekend, and sometimes twice in one weekend they would play. And I was there every time, like listening to these songs. And then I can remember after, like a 4 or 5 week stretch, listening to Escape, like the album version, and it was so slow. And I was like, this doesn't even sound right, because they play this song so fast live that it just doesn't even sound like the same song. Like, it would crack me up, because I was like, this is such a great song, but it sounds so weird because it, the album version sounds so slow compared to listening to it live so many times.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it just cracked me up.
I wanted to go back and touch on what Robbie said too about he believes the older you get, song music in general you don't care for. You end up starting to. I totally agree with that, man, because there's stuff that I can remember when I was little that I would look at as like, oh, that sounds dumb or boring and blah blah blah, and things like Rush or Yes and bands like that, and now it's just like I'm a huge fan of them, and I look back and it's like, God, like, but even like other like popular songs, like there's been songs that like, yeah, I remember hearing them through the years, and then for whatever reason I'll hear the song again or I'll play the song, and suddenly it's like hitting me a whole different way than what it ever did before when it would just be like sort of background noise. Now it's like, and I'm not just saying like, oh yeah, that's a good song. No, it's like hitting me in like a soulful, like spiritual way. Like, whoa, there's something in there that just really, it just really makes me feel a certain way, and catches my soul. And I love those kind of songs that do that to you. That's, to me, those are the best songs where you truly get that kind of special feeling about certain parts in the song that you hear. And it's a big difference from just like, oh yeah, that's a cool song, yeah, that's awesome, but when it really touches you, but yeah, I totally agree, Robbie. There's been so many songs through the years that I used to just not care much for, or like I said, I would just, you'd hear it like on the radio, and but then hearing it again, it just bam, nails you right in the soul.
Yep.
All right, let's get into these final tallies here, and then we'll get this thing wrapped up.
Indeed. All right, so we have a ton of votes for this one that we are counting in. This is even one of the episodes that we did on the original 4K, I think, right? Or was this the Lost episode?
This is the Lost episode.
Yeah. This was the one that we filmed but never released. So we've even got votes from the original 4K.
Cool.
All right, so you guys, in addition to the three of us here that you've just seen, we are counting votes from Steve McGowan. He gave this album a 9 out of 10, and his top three were Young and Wasted, Fits Like a Glove, and Exciter. We've also got Rochelle McGowan, who gave this an 8 out of 10, and her top three were Not for the Innocent, All Hell's Breaking Loose, and Lick It Up. We've also got Harry's votes. He gave this an 8.2 out of 10, and his top three were Lick It Up, Dance All Over Your Face, and All Hell's Breaking Loose. We got David Smith's votes. His top three, All Hell's Breaking Loose, Gimme More, and Lick It Up. We've got mine from last time. I gave this an 8 out of 10, and my top three were Fits Like a Glove, A Million to One, and Exciter. Eli's from last time. You gave this an 8 out of 10, and top three, Young and Wasted, Lick It Up, and Fits Like a Glove. We got Dad's from last time. I gave it a 7.5. Top three, All Hell's Breaking Loose, and On the Eighth Day, and Lick It Up. Steve McGowan's from last time. Gave it an 8 out of 10. A Million to One, Fits Like a Glove, and Lick It Up. We got Jay Rucker, who gave this a 9.5. Top three, Fits Like a Glove, Young and Wasted, and Not for the Innocent. Savannah's from the original 4K. Top three, Not for the Innocent, Lick It Up, and big surprise, A Million to One. We got Sam, my younger brother's from the original. His top 3 were All Hell's Breaking Loose, Young and Wasted, and Exciter. Got Majenica, my younger sister from the original. Her top 3, Young and Wasted, and On the Eighth Day, and Lick It Up. We got Robbie Stars from last time. He gave us an 8 out of 10. His top 3 were Fits Like a Glove, A Million to One, and Exciter. We got Jay Rucker's dad, who gave this a 9 out of 10. His top 3 were Fits Like a Glove, Not for the Innocent, and Exciter. Jay's niece gave this a 7 out of 10. His uncle gave this an 8.5 out of 10. His brother gave this a 7.5 out of 10. We've got votes from Aaron Philpott. His top 3 were Fits Like a Glove, Young and Wasted, and Not for the Innocent. We've actually got votes from Rochelle McGowan from last time. She gave this a 7 out of 10. Her top 3, Lick It Up, Exciter, and A Million to One. Jacob Hicks gave this a 10 out of 10. Gianni Ottaviani gave this an 8 out of 10. Thomas, our buddy Rain in Adamstown, gave this an 8 out of 10, and his top 3 were Exciter, All Hell's Breaking Loose, and Not for the Innocent. Whew. That's a lot of votes. Okay, so put all that together. This album got an 8.3 average overall out of 10, which is really high. That does put it pretty far up compared to everything else. Just under Dynasty average overall, looks like, and just over Alive 2. So not all the way at the top, but very close. Actually, that puts it a little above Destroyer even. It's kind of surprising.
Wow.
In last place for this time, 10th place, Dance All Over Your Face. Sorry, Harry and Javier. In 9th place, Gimme More. In 8th place, And on the Eighth Day, fitting. In 7th place, Young and Wasted. In 6th place, A Million to One.
Mm-hmm.
In 5th place, All Hell's Breaking Loose. And our top 4 for this time, Eli's getting some justice from the last time we did this episode here. In 4th place, Lick It Up. In 3rd place, Fits Like a Glove.
Yes.
In 2nd place, Not for the Innocent. And in 1st place, Exciter.
We couldn't even get Fits in the top 5 last time.
No, we tried and we petitioned and it never happened.
Finally. What is this weird stuff with on the Eighth Day going on?
I don't know.
I ranked it number 8 and ended up being number 8 on the whole. Today is the 8th of January. So is something weird going to happen today?
That is weird. That's a lot of 8s.
The 8th day. All right. Very cool. So we should be having a special guest with us next week.
That's right.
And then we'll get into this wrapping it up here. But we should have a special guest with us next week, Mr. Anthony X, the author of the Kiss My Black Ass book. Really enjoying that book so far. Still haven't finished it yet, but getting very close. Very, very fun read. A lot of laughs, and he's pulls no punches on his opinions on all the albums and songs as well. So excited to get him on here and hear what he has to say, live and in person on about the Animalized episode. So be looking forward to that. If anyone else wants to come on for Animalized too, more than welcome as always. Just drop us a line, let us know.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think that does it, doesn't it?
Indeed.
All right. Well, as always, we thank you all for stopping in and, participating as always. And thankfully, YouTube cooperated with us this week, and the show was live on YouTube. So that's going to do it. Thanks, everyone. Javier says he needs to get that book. It's been on his want list. Yeah, I totally recommend it, man. 100%. I wish I would have gotten it sooner myself. It had been on my radar, and then, thankfully, Anthony contacted us. So again, it's just funny how things work that way. So definitely a must read. So we will definitely talk more about that book next week as well. So be looking forward to that, and of course, Animalize. All right, everyone, take care. Stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. Don't raid any political buildings, and all that stuff. So we'll see you guys next week.